Welcome to our Climate Wisdom live stream from COP29 Climate Change Conference in Baku, Azerbaijan. We bring together delegates and experts from civil society, from faith, from science and policy makers for meaningful conversation in the midst of a world in crisis. We care, we share, and we inspire. I'm Sonja Ohlsson, and I will be your moderator tonight. And this is the fourth day of the COP29, and we have had full calendars with side events, press conferences, meetings, meeting friends, making new connections, and the whole stadium is just full of people meeting each other all the time in several meeting areas. Every sofa is full, every coffee place is full, every pavilion is full of people. And it's hard to find somewhere to sit. We have had a very busy exhibition actually for 4 days, and we have 2 chairs there we can sit. Yeah. But the topic tonight is gender equality and climate change. And I'm very happy to have our 2 guests with me here tonight. A warm welcome to both of you.
Thank you.
Maryam Majidova from the Gender Hub here in Azerbaijan, and Maureen Goodman from Brahma Kumaris Program Director in the UK. So, Maryam, it says on the website you are international youth policy and gender expert, and you are educator and you are a consultant, and you're currently the director of a youth feminist organization called Gender Hub in Azerbaijan, which you co-founded in 2020. You're also part of COP29 organizing committee, so I guess you have had a few very busy days here.
Months as well.
Yes, yeah.
But we have seen that the topic of gender equality is increasing in its importance through the years. And why is the question of gender balance becoming more and more important in our environmental work?
Thank you very much for having me today. I'm honored to be along with you. This is a very peaceful evening after very hectic days and months of preparation. I feel also honored to be part of the organizing committee because in this part of the world, gender equality and access to women's rights is not something that is very easily talked about or accessed. So being in a COP29 organizing committee gives us a unique space and safer, let's say, space that we can talk about this topic, and we can ensure meaningful participation of women and girls.
How many women are you in the organizing committee?
We are around 15, I guess. Initially, COP29 didn't have a female member, and our organization was the one which advocated for having women on board. And for some reason, organizing committee assumed that we wanted to be part of the organizing committee. That's why we advocated for it. But little do they know that it's our daily activism, it's our daily advocacy, that we always advocate for women's participation. And so they invited me that, oh, you advocated for it, you want to be in. Like, no, it's not my personal wish, it's just the advocacy that we wanted to be part of it as women, not as a gender hub. So later on, we started to see this as an opportunity to organize a lot of events, bring a lot of people, give a space for younger generation as well to talk about climate change and the importance of women's participation in adaptation, mitigation, and also how we can support women in loss and damage processes, because still there is a lack of adequate funding, there is lack of adequate spaces where women can actually come together, build communities, and advocate for their own rights. It's still taboo in a lot of communities for women even to go out of their houses. It's considered to be a shameful practice that, oh, you are doing something for a community, but what about your children? What about your family? You are the one which is only born to take care of your kids. Unfortunately, this is still the case in Azerbaijan, and as Gender Hub, we try to mobilize communities, especially in the rural areas, for women to empower other women and to feel empowered by their own network of female leaders.
So how is women's empowerment connected to climate change?
Yeah, it's about the impact of climate change on women. And if you are actually impacted by certain problems, issues, you need to have a say in that, and you need to be a part of the solution, not only to be an end user of the decisions made by patriarchal system, unfortunately. So we really want women to be on board, especially in the cases which impact their own lives and lives of their households and lives of their kids and of their communities. We want women to be part of the decision-making processes related to climate action. As you may know, that climate change impacts the reproductive health of women in different directions, not only while birth, but also after birth. During menstruation processes, they have miscarriages due to the heat. They have hormonal problems due to the stressful situations that is caused by migration, forced migration due to the climate change. If it's floods or if it's some other natural disasters also caused by climate change. So they have to move from their placements, from their homes, and seek a new home, and then they don't have adequate resources, especially sanitary, hygiene, water resources, even to have shower, or to care for your baby, to have a proper nursery. And a lot of times we feel that male participants, especially during COP, they say, "Oh, we can, take care for you. You don't have to think, what different perspective women can bring. We all know that this is, bad." Yeah, but women bring different perspective because they have their own paradigms. You can't feel what women go through, especially when it comes to the reproductive health and rights.
So thank you very much for describing the seriousness of this situation and fantastic work you're doing in this part of the world.
Thank you.
I feel your courage when you're sitting here describing it.
Very much.
And actually, Brahma Kumaris is run by women, is administrated by women. And so Maureen, we're not a feminist organization, but it's run by women, Brahma Kumaris. And Maureen...
You don't have to call it feminism all the time, We all have the same cause, and
absolutely,
we can call ourselves differently. So
it doesn't matter.
So Maureen, what qualities is it that women have that can contribute to this world of crisis, to the seriousness of the situation that Maryam is describing?
Well, I think Maryam has already described some of those qualities, but I think that women have a certain strength and a resilience that is more natural to women, quite honestly. Of course, you can only generalize because all men and women are different, and nothing is just a blanket thing. But that's what I do see, and because of that strength, I think women have like a lot more perseverance to see something through. They won't get put off easily. They will be determined, because if you think about the role women play in bringing up children and nurturing the family, and particularly in rural communities and developing communities, they need so much resilience and strength to go for miles to get water, to be usually working the agricultural sector. I mean, the whole, I don't like to use the word burden, but it is a burden actually on women, is very strong. And women really make the world work. I really feel that. And so, yes, in climate change, women bring that perspective of the reality of life, that if you want life to continue, this is what is needed. Yeah.
our strength and resilience.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Keywords.
Yeah.
Maryam, you are now running, directing the Gender Hub, and you shared a little bit about the work. Maybe you can tell us practically what the Gender Hub is doing here in Azerbaijan, but also what is your personal driving force? Why did you engage yourself in this topic? It's unusual here.
Yeah, I'll start why it's personal, and then I will
Yeah.
talk about the work of Gender Hub. So I was raised by a single mother, and all my life I had to prove my every success. People would tell me, "Oh, you are in this field because you don't have a father. You are independent because you don't have a control hand on you. You are free to voice because there's no man who is behind your back, you know." And another point was that you are doing this because you feel like you know, you will get some recognition for that. So it's a lot of times all the misconception about my gender and you know, why I'm doing this as a woman, or probably they would say, "Oh, you are promoting you know, reproductive health rights, because what did you do in the past that you need to, you know, what kind of trauma you have that you promote reproductive health rights?" So it's always, it's like basic human rights that we're promoting, but in our reality, it's sometimes misunderstood. Yeah, and all my life, my mom was always a victim, a survivor, I would say, of violence herself. And I was always seeing that and hoping for a world where my mom and people and women like my mom would not experience this. She was suppressed by her brothers, by her mom, and later on by her husband. And then she lost her husband. So this story impacted me a lot, you know, and she never went back to, you know, career. So a lot of things that made me witnessing her, but of course myself as a girl who was always discussed by society, a girl without a father. We have a saying, a girl without a father is like a place without a roof, you know. It's like a saying, a quotations.
Very touching to hear. Yeah. So how you're channeling that energy today in the Gender Hub?
Yeah, and now, and I strongly believe that having sharing the stories is very important. I do share a lot, and I bring the stories of other women who are going from similar experiences. I wouldn't say same, because every experience is very unique. And we cannot expect it to be the same, but we give them the floor to share their learning, their reintegration process back to society. We use social media as a great tool because, first of all, it's free to use. As NGOs, we don't have access to a lot of financing, so we need to use alternative sources, such as social media. We do have a lot of interviews with influencers. We bring together different decision makers to support our vision. Because one thing is that I say that gender equality is good, but the other thing is a blogger, a face person, or a person who is really has respect by society tells that. So we try to bring this multi-stakeholder approach, and we work a lot in the rural communities with teachers, with human rights educators / lawyers, you know, social workers. We mentor them to organize follow-up activities every time they come to our projects. So for us, it's important that after every project, we ensure a short, small follow-up activity by every participant of our activities, so that it continues in a sustainable manner. Let's say a teacher comes and they learn about, you know, gender-based sex selection, which is, we call it selective abortion. In this part of the world, son preference is still a huge issue. So women would be forced to abort their daughters in order to prove to society that they're good wives, they're good women, that they brought men to this world. So they would go to the schools and they would start to work with the mindset of kids, starting from the, you know, first grade, second grade. Well, maybe they don't call it gender equality, but they start to show them what is the role of women, role of men. Actually, we are all unique in our own way, and we can have access to the same resources, same opportunities, and maybe we also need some inclusion here. Maybe someone needs a different support mechanism, let's say women.
Thank you for sharing. You have a lot to share, and you have many stories.
Yeah.
And you're a powerful leader. I can feel that.
Thank you.
And talking about leadership, Maureen, yesterday in the COP29, you were in a panel in the Faith Pavilion about women leadership in climate change. It was organized by Dr. Husna Ahmed, and she will be a guest here tomorrow evening. But maybe you share some of the points that came up in your side event yesterday about women leadership.
Yes, very much. Dr. Husna Ahmed, as you said, was chairing it, and she began by pointing out about the imbalance, because there's an imbalance in power. So, as you have said, not enough women at the table. There were several speakers. Dr. Iyad, who runs Faith for Earth and working for gender inclusivity as well. A woman who's part of the organising committee, you would probably know
Not
her.
the one.
Yes, that's right. And she was amazing. She was describing her inclusive cafe, where she includes young people who are autistic or have Down syndrome. They run the cafe. They have a stand here. Do you know what it's called?
Kashalata.
Yes. So please, anybody listening who's in COP29, please go there. So she's really empowering young people. And I'm very, so her story was, because she had an autistic child, she decided this is what I need to do. And like you said, it was like born out of her own experience that she began this as for yourself. And there was, we had video message, and someone who's created a different method of accounting, which takes into account non-material gain, so not just the finance. And in fact, he said that accounting is a colonial system. That hit home. That was very interesting. I was also speaking and mentioning about some of the projects that we're doing, and one of them, because women are more vulnerable when it comes to climate change, and they can be misplaced, they're also not misplaced, displaced. Sorry, they're also more vulnerable to trafficking. And we have a project where we're working with in Central America, where we're working with policymakers, with judiciary, with other NGOs, to help empower women who've been victims of human trafficking, so that they can begin to have a better life and a different life. But when I think about the session, the essence of it was empowering women, but in two strands in a sense. One is being able to provide those platforms where women can come forward and be part of decision making, but the other is for women themselves to have that deep self-belief to come forward and play those roles. And there was a couple of young women in the audience, and they were saying, we need training, we need help, we want to do this. How can we do it? And I know what the work I've had to do on myself, because I used to allow, whether it was a father or a husband, to take decisions for me. And at one point I thought, I'm not taking my own decisions, what's going on here? And you've probably had this experience when you first take your own decision, not listening to anybody, but listening to your heart. It's like, I felt it was like taking a dive into a diving pool, It was like something so out of my, that was amazing. So this training, and I've had to work so much on my own self-belief. So no matter what others are saying, like you have also pointed out, I know what it is that I need to do. And, I've had very good mentors. You mentioned our organisation is run by women, and one of the women I was with for 40 years because our organisation was put in the hands of women by the founder, and a woman of great wisdom, a nurturer, and someone who could see your potential more than you could see for yourself, and believed in you. And I always feel it's the greatest gift you can give someone is to believe in them. And so I feel very fortunate. But I was asked a question recently. What was the most important thing you took from Daddy Janki, her name is? And I said, she would never ask us to do anything that she herself had not done. And that was a real strength, and I tried to inculcate that in my life too.
So thank you for sharing, and also sharing how you're working on yourself, and we have to do that to step into the leadership role. And it brings me to the next question for you, Maryam. I heard one of your videos on YouTube, and you say one of your strongest values in your life is to challenge yourself daily. And how do you challenge yourself here during the climate change conference, and how do you stay self-aware during this pressured time that the conference is?
That's a very relevant question for this situation we are going through at the moment. I like to receive feedback. I also like to give feedback, receiving and giving feedback. I guess what Maureen also mentioned earlier, mentoring, I also had very good mentors who challenged me by providing feedback on time. And I like to analyze a day. Every day we're trying to have check out with our team to reflect on what is going on, because if we don't sit and, because it's such a pressure, if we don't sit and point out, okay, this is what we are getting from today, and that's what we are going in tomorrow, to have some kind of reflection and analyzing session, let's say we could call it this way. So for me, having this reflection, maybe not daily, but in this case we do it daily, but normally with our team we also sit down and we try to see what our takeaways, what our feedback to each other, how can we challenge ourselves in a good manner, of course, in terms of developing and taking a next step as an organization.
Interesting to hear. Yeah, talking about reflection and self-analyze, maybe we should try some meditation together with Maureen. She can guide us in a silent reflection, how she does it in the evening when you analyze your day, maybe.
Yes, I do.
Shall we do that?
You want to know all my secrets?
No.
Okay. So let us take a journey away from all the chaos that may be around us, to find a quiet space inside, to go into my own inner sanctuary where I feel safe. And in that inner sanctuary, I can look at myself. But first, I want to look at the strengths, the resources that I have inside that help me move through life. And I discover my original qualities. Each one of us has an original nature of peace, of love, of wisdom. These are my strengths. that support me, that give me courage. And when I look at myself in terms of maybe the day, maybe I'm looking over my life, from that position of strength, I can honestly see what it is that I need to do. And I can see what it is that I've learned. And so I move forward. I listen to my inner feelings. I listen to the divine. And I know what it is that I need to do. And I do that with purpose and meaning. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much for a beautiful reflection. And we're coming towards the end of our conversation. But before we finish, just let me have 1 or 2 sentences from you, your wish for the conference and your wish for the women affected by climate change. What's your deep wish in your heart at the moment? Very short, in few sentences.
Yeah, if we talk about COP29, is of course to really have this meaningful inclusion.
Meaningful inclusion.
Is and access to justice, especially for the ones who are mostly impacted by climate change.
Meaningful conversation, yes. Inclusivity.
And
for
really,
justice.
Really meaningful one. Not for the media, not for the politics.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And Maureen?
There's a word that's, I think, very little used in COP conferences, and that's the word love.
Love.
And so I would like to see love in the negotiations. But for that, we need to love ourselves first and love all those around us.
Thank you so much for a very, very nice conversation.
Thank you.
Yeah. And thank you to all listeners for staying with us. Thank you to our patrons who are supporting this initiative and all the volunteers behind the scene. And come back to us tomorrow evening. We have another session of Climate Wisdom live stream from COP29. And you can see more on our webpage, www.echo.brahmakumaris.org. And I think that's all. So I say thank you and good evening from Baku.
Thank you.
Thank you for moderation.
Yeah, it's great.